Pay very close attention. The biggest reason to buy a NIO is battery swap, but it's hurting investors, and I'll explain why. Most people, they buy a NIO because of battery swap. I'd say 80% because of battery swap. Me included, I bought my NIO because of battery swap. Not only is it very convenient to quickly swap, but also there's no battery degradation and you're not going to be stuck with a bad battery a few years down the line. We've all heard those stories where, for example, an Ioniq 5 in Canada or in the US, they get stuck with a battery replacement bill that's even more expensive than the car itself. Absolutely nuts. Replacing a battery is hella expensive. With battery swap, you don't have to worry about that. Okay? It's not your problem. But wait a second. Whose problem does it become? Well, that becomes NIO's problem. NIO handles the degradation. NIO has to take on this burden, right? It's great for owners, right? We as owners, hey, no battery degradation. But NIO has to take care of the bill. And by proxy, investors. How exactly do they take care of this? Well, it's much cheaper than replacing the whole entire battery pack. What's genius about NIO is, of course, the fact that if a battery pack sees degradation, they take it apart, like you see in this video, and they identify the module, the individual module inside that has degradation, and then they replace that module, all right, ensuring that the battery pack inside the whole entire swap network, all of them are healthy and above a certain degradation threshold. But who pays the bill for that little module change? It's not us NIO owners. No, we don't pay that bill. NIO does, right? By proxy, shareholders do. So with other companies, of course, as a customer, you wouldn't want to be stuck with a hefty battery replacement bill. Here with NIO, of course, this is one of the perfect reasons to buy a NIO. But of course, NIO has to handle the degradation, and they have to fork out the money for that. It is a very big, majestic thing that they're doing, and I really got to salute them for being able to actually achieve this. This is just incredible. Keeping all the batteries within the station healthy, absolutely incredible. But nonetheless, battery degradation is not a customer's problem with NIO vehicles. It's a problem for NIO themselves to handle, and by proxy, NIO shareholders, they got to handle this problem. They got to fork out the money, and they got to pay the price. And there's also another big hurdle. All right, this hurdle is quite critical as well, and that is the fact that everything is shifting to 800 volts and even 900 volt right now. But a big problem is all the existing batteries, they were built on the 400 volt architecture. And basically, NIO vehicles at 900 volt, you have to either come out with a new battery pack or upgrade the entire batteries in every single swap station out there, which is just a whole lot of batteries. And even if NIO launches a 900 volt architecture car, aka the ET9, you see they have to come out with a new battery pack, the 120 kilowatt hour 900 volt architecture battery pack that charges really, really fast. But now NIO has to build out these batteries and put it in those swap stations. Existing swap stations will still have the 400 volt 75 100 kilowatt hour battery packs. So what I'm trying to convey is that upgrading the car, all right, upgrading the charging speed, the architecture of the car also means you have to upgrade the entire battery network, which also becomes a very, very big burden. If tomorrow, early next year, you get an ET9 that has the 120 kilowatt hour 900 volt super fast charging battery pack, great. But do swap stations have that battery pack? That's the big problem. All right, do swap stations have that battery pack? So NIO has to put these battery packs in every single swap station in order to be able to upgrade and allow ET9 owners to enjoy the same convenience. Now, don't get me wrong, all right, even with the 400 volt batteries right now, all right, battery swap is still way faster than charging. No problem with with that at all. But you're seeing that if NIO wants to upgrade, it's just very inconvenient, all right? After that, you have a whole lot of different batteries in the station now. You got a 75, you got the 100, you got the 150, you got the 2 on-volt battery packs. So that's 5 different battery packs. And then you have the 120 kilowatt hour ET9 battery pack. It's just so many different battery packs inside the stations. It just becomes, you're not going to have that many of each type. Okay, so what could happen is if a NIO owner goes there and you have this specific battery, but there's only like 2 of those and those aren't fully charged, then you have to wait a while longer. So this is of course a big hurdle, which I believe NIO will be able to accomplish, and they will slowly phase out the existing batteries. Well, actually they can't phase out the existing batteries because you still have NIO owners that are still using the 400 volt architecture, right? Like me, like all these other NIO owners out there. So there will always have to be some of those batteries inside the stations. So they'll just have to come out with newer swap stations that can hold much more batteries, okay, many more batteries, and be able to support both the super fast charging ones and also the 400 volt versions. Once again, I'm not trying to say battery swap is bad. No, that's not what I'm trying to say. There's 9 huge benefits to battery swap, okay? They're still valid every single day of every single year. 9 huge benefits of battery swap, okay? It's just that maintaining all these batteries, first of all, costs money, and they cost shareholders money because battery degradation has to be handled by NIO and not the owners. And then also, number 2, upgrading cars, having cars that charge faster with NIO vehicles means you got to upgrade the entire network. Otherwise, if you don't have these batteries in those swap stations, then you don't have that convenience factor, right? If only that swap station has the battery that you have and the other one doesn't, you don't really have that convenience, even though you charge faster. So it is a hurdle to go through, all right? It is I would say a transition phase, another transition phase that NIO has to go through. But this is a little bit more tricky than just a product transition phase. This is more like a battery transition phase, which is kind of very challenging. And I think the best solution is, of course, to just place out a ton more swap stations, right? Place out a ton more swap stations, and even some swap stations, they're placed really close to each other. So what will happen is probably this swap station will have 2 types of batteries, and then the other swap station will have three different types of batteries. So you got 5 different types of batteries within the vicinity, and this is a strategy that Dr. Shinfei has said that they will be doing, okay, going forward. So they'll be able to support both existing NIO owners with the 400 volt batteries and also future on-volt owners and future 900 volt fast charging NIO vehicles as well. So it is a big hurdle that they got to go through. Very capital intensive, very capital intensive. But again, both on the sustainability front, it's much cheaper, much more eco-friendly to just replace a single module inside a battery pack. And whenever a module goes bad, replace that instead of replacing the whole entire battery pack and throwing that away. So in this aspect, recyclability of the battery, NIO is just absolutely top notch. And NIO has phased out batteries before. For example, back in 2018, 2019, they had the 84 kilowatt hour battery pack. That was completely phased out. And then now, 70 kilowatt hour battery packs are being phased out in replacement with the 75 kilowatt hour battery pack. So it is very possible that in the future, all these batteries will get phased out. We'll probably get a standard range battery pack that supports 900 volt charging, and that will be put inside the battery, inside the swap stations that both the first gen NIOs can use and also the third gen NIOs can also use, and that also supports super fast charging. So slowly they will have to phase out these batteries, and that will also be, I guess, a write-off, maybe a loss as well. So we're going through this very interesting transition phase, battery transition phase, and this is perhaps the biggest testament to NIO power ever. All right, you got more batteries coming in, more vehicles to support, and you got to transition into 900 volt. How are they going to handle this? Very, very critical. All right, they got to do this right. They got to get it done. In the end, if they're able to upgrade everything to the 900 volt and also future-proof themselves, that's a mission accomplished. Then it's pretty much a huge validation for battery swap. And going forward, there are basically no other hurdles after that's done. But right now, we are in this critical phase, all right, critical phase. In the next 1 year, all right, next 1 year, from summer right now to summer next year, we got to see how NIO handles this battery, this huge influx of additional batteries of different sizes, different capacities. And I'm pretty confident that they're going to get it done. All right. But don't forget, this is why you buy NIO. You don't worry about battery degradation. Let the shareholders worry about it. All right. As always, stay safe, stay healthy. Peace out.